I'm Julie Faye Van Balzer, and today I'm going to show you how to create an intricate lacy design using just the built-in designs in ScanNCut Canvas. And then we're going to take that beautiful design and apply it to a t-shirt. Pretty cool, right? So to get started, we're going to head right over to the computer. I'm here at the computer in ScanNCut Canvas, and we're about to create our intricate lace design. So the first thing we need to do is navigate to a new canvas. So I simply click on the word new, which I can see right there, and then right away it'll bring up a canvas for me to use. Now we're going to work with all the different built-in designs that are here in Canvas to build our design. So on the left side you'll see something that says Basic. So from the Basic menu, we're simply going to pick a variety of designs. It really doesn't matter what you pick, it's entirely up to you. You're just trying to put interesting shapes next to each other. So I might grab this. I tend to stay away from any of the scallop designs or anything that's too intricate, because we're going to reduce these in size and make them all kinds of different sizes. So you just want to be a little bit careful about that. So once I have a collection of shapes, and you can see they just pile up on top of each other right here in the middle, looking kind of kaleidoscopy. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one and resize it, and I simply do that by dragging at the corners. And then once I have them resized to the sizes that I want, I'll start to overlap them. So let me take a minute to go ahead and do that now. I've dragged everything into place and resized it, I've got a couple problems that I need to deal with, and I want to point those out to you. The first is that my design is not really the shape that I want it to be. I want to drag all those little pieces so that they're an overall square shape, okay? It doesn't have to be exactly a square, but generally a square. The other problem is you can see that right over here on the left side, these three pieces are not actually attached. So even though it's pleasing, the way that the point of this arrow pokes into that shape, it's not going to work. I need every single thing to be touching and overlapping like so. And so if you don't like the way that it looks there, then feel free to move it to another area, and that may also help build the square that we need to get. I'm going to add some more shapes, do a little bit more rotating and resizing until I have a square design together. So I'll be right back. So once you've fixed your piece so that everything is overlapping and that it's in a general square area, now we're ready to go ahead and select the whole thing and weld it together. So I'm simply going to drag the arrow across the entire selection until I see that little dotted blue line. That means that everything's selected. And then I'm going to go up to the Edit menu and choose the first option, which is the Weld option under Process Overlap. And you'll see I'll get one big design. Now, a trick to know whether you've actually successfully welded everything, in case you're nervous, is select what you've just welded. Again, you'll get those dotted blue lines right around it. And once you've done that, this little button here, which looks like three lines inside a square, that's the Properties panel. And what you're going to do then is change the fill color so that it's actually one color. And you can even get rid of the outline if you want, so you can see it really clearly. So now I can see that I have one big shape all welded together. So now we're ready for the next step, which is, we talked about an imaginary square, but now we're actually going to make that imaginary square real. So once again, from the basic shapes, you're going to go ahead and choose the square, which is the very first option. Then you want to make that square be about the size of your objects, but with one tiny little thing. It needs to come in and just touch, not on every single side, but generally you want it to touch at least one item of everything that's there, okay? If you do it much bigger, you just have to build out a little bit more. But if you make it just about the right size, then you'll see it'll touch in just a couple areas, which is exactly what we want. So we hope that on most sides it's going to be touching. And if you want, this is a great time to edit and just decide to lop out part of your design. Remember, this is all flexible and fun, so there's no need to get super fussy about it. So once you have that selected, then you're going to go ahead and select the two parts, the overlapping parts, okay? You're going to go back up to the Edit menu, and we're going to go back into the Process Overlap functions. And now we're going to do the one that's about dividing, which is the second choice. So now it's going to divide it. So now I'm going to be able to click, you can see on this part of the star, and delete with the delete key, and that part is gone. So what you want to do is clean up everything that's outside of the square. So now that I've deleted away all those parts, I'm going to be able to actually pull apart the inside of this into two different pieces. So I click once in an open area, and you'll see I get a big square. I'm going to drag it away, and I'm going to go back to those property panel and do a fill so you can see what it looks like. So now you can see I have this all cut out like this. Whereas if I select all these miscellaneous pieces and I do a fill, let's do that in a different color. Can you see the difference between these two pieces? It's actually the same exact thing. It's just one of these has the outline of the square edges and one doesn't. The one that we want to keep is the one that has the hard outlines of the square, or the yellow one. So the pink one I'm actually going to select and delete. Now this one right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to group it. So under Edit and Group, and now it's one piece for me to work with. So now we're going to add in some of the part that really makes this look like lace. So into these empty white parts, I'm going to start to add some shapes. And what I'm going to do is simply resize it. And again, you can color it so that you can really see what's happening with your design. But you can see how it's going to start to really look cool and lacy. So you just want to create these inside areas now. That's what we're doing. So let me add some more inside areas. Now that we're done creating our lacy edges, what we want to do is make sure that everything is cleaned up and clean and clear. And that's really about the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the built-in align tools to help me make sure that everything is aligned within that original square. So to do that, I simply select any of the pieces that are aligned at the edge. So you can see I've selected the main square, which is in the light yellow, and the new little trapezoid here. And I can see by where they are, the dotted lines, that it's not extending beyond. So that one's fine. And the same here with the little half circle. I can see it's not extending beyond, so it's okay. And in fact, if I look at this dotted line all the way around, this triangle is okay. It looks like everything is actually within the bounds. However, if there was anything that wasn't in the bounds, let me show you what you would have to do. So let me drag a little piece out so that I can show you what that would look like. So let's say your circle, your half circle, was up there. All you would do is you would select it and the main or light yellow area. Go up to Edit and simply hit the Align, the top Align button, to bring it down. Now you can see it actually adjusted everything up as well. So now what I actually need to do is now go down and fix some of the other pieces, or since it was okay before, I'm just going to hit Undo, because the other option is you can simply select the piece that's out of line and use your arrow keys on your keyboard to bring it down. And once it's down, you can take a peek and everything seems fine. So just make sure that everything's within that square border. But now here's the really exciting part. We're about to really make this lace design stand out. So what you're going to do is select everything that you see on screen. You're going to go to Edit and to Group. And you can see that right there. And then you're going to make there be 4 copies of it. So how you do this is from the Edit menu, there's something called Duplicate. So you're going to duplicate it. So that's one duplication. Then you're going to duplicate it again, Edit, Duplicate. So that's another duplication. And you're going to hit one more time, Edit and Duplicate, so that you have a 4th one. But it's not enough just to duplicate it. We also want to rotate. So your first duplicate, you're going to rotate 90 degrees. Simply, if you don't see the properties panel open, remember you just hit this little line with the 3 stars, or the 3 lines, hit 90 degrees, and it rotates it. Then the next one down, we're going to rotate that one 180 degrees. And then the next one, we're going to go ahead and rotate negative 90 degrees. And now everything should be rotated as if in a circle, and you can see it looks really cool. But now we want to line them up. So I'm going to select the 2 top ones, hit Edit, and align them. I'm going to do the same thing with the 2 bottom ones, Edit, and align. I'm going to do the same with the 2 left ones, Edit, and align. And the same with the 2 right ones, Edit, and align. And now everything is completely aligned. It looks fantastic. I can select all and one more time group. And now this is one big lacy piece. But here's where it gets super exciting. If you reduce this, okay, so let's reduce it so that it's smaller right here. And now you can see it fits right in one quadrant here. And we go up to Edit and Duplicate. Now put that next to it. And how about if we do that 2 more times? And you can see the result when we lay it out is this unbelievably cool, intricate design. And again, I would go through the whole alignment process to make sure that these 4 pieces are aligned. Once everything's aligned, you're going to go ahead and group it. So once you have grouped everything, you have an amazing lace pattern that you created just using the built-in shapes in ScanNCut Canvas. So now, of course, it's time for us to cut it out. I'm super excited about that. But there's one tiny little change that I'm going to make right now, which is I don't have any heat apply material, which is what I'm going to cut it out of. That's 12 by 12. So I need to make it even smaller so that it'll fit on my smaller piece. Now I can do this here or I can do it in the machine. But I figure since I'm right here at the computer, I might as well do it now. So I'm simply going to drag the corner and reduce this so that it will fit on the smaller piece that I have. Just like that. So now that that's resized, it's time for us to cut it out. So we need to download it really quickly. So I have a wireless card, so I'm simply going to hit download. And then when the option's given, I am going to do the wireless transfer. If you don't have a wireless card, you can of course put your file on a USB and bring it right over to your machine and cut it out. So scan and cut transfer, and the transfer is ready. So let's go to the scan and cut. So I am using a piece of Brother heat apply material. Now this is actually 3 layers. The very, very shiny side that's towards you right now is a carrier sheet. And then there's 2 other basically items here. One is flocking and the other is the heat apply material. And that's the actual thing that will melt when you iron it to glue the flocking on. So we actually only want to cut through 2 of those layers, not all 3. So I've taken a small scrap of heat apply material and I've used it to do my test cut. And what you can see if I pull these apart is that I've managed to cut through both the heat apply material and the flocking, right? But not through the carrier sheet. That's really important. So because we don't want to cut through the carrier sheet, I'm going to put my material onto my mat, carrier sheet or shiny side down. So I'm going to go ahead and place that onto my mat, smooth it down, open up the dust cover on the ScanNCut and load it into the machine. Once it's loaded into the machine, I'm going to go to the home screen and choose pattern. And then I'm going to go to the wireless button right there to retrieve my file. Once it appears on screen, I want to make sure to scan in my material so that I can make sure that everything is actually going to go onto the mat. So I can see that part of the design is actually hanging off the edge. And if that's too dark for me to see, I can of course lighten it up in the settings so I can see a little bit better. So I want to make sure to grab it and then just resize it a little bit to snug it in. So I'm not resizing, I was just dragging it there, and then I'm going to resize it right here down a teeny ways just so that I feel comfortable. And then again, drag it so that it's going to fit right on there. Once it looks good, I'm ready to say okay. Okay again. Now before I cut, I want to check my settings. So for my test cut, I did it at a speed of 1, a cut pressure of 3, and my blade is set to a 4. But of course, you should do a test cut for your machine to see what works for you. So once I'm all set, I'm simply going to press the cut button and the start button. So now that it's done cutting, I'm going to go ahead and unload the mat. This should all pull off as one single piece. And then I'm going to look carefully and see where it stopped cutting, and I'm simply going to cut with scissors the excess material off and save that for later for another project or maybe even for a test cut or something else like that. So once that's done, I'm going to grab my hook tool and I'm going to get to weeding. To begin the weeding process, I like to start at the edge in a part that I know I'm discarding and simply get my hook tool in there to get the weeding process started. That first pull, oops, there you go, and I broke it, which is fine, and that's what you want to do, is always the hardest. But I'm able to then, once I get that hook in, just start gently pulling things away. So you want to be a little bit careful because you have lots of tiny little pieces. So I'm going to take a few moments and just continue to pull away and discard the excess that I don't want. So I have completely weeded my heat apply material right here, and I'm going to take an iron and simply warm up the t-shirt that I'm placing it down onto. I'm set on the cotton setting, but of course you should check the manufacturer instructions for whatever heat apply material you're using. Then I'm going to place it with the fusible side down and the carrier sheet side up exactly where I want it to be on my shirt. And once it's set, I'm going to take a pressing sheet, which is just a fancy word for another piece of fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and hit it with an iron. Now I'm actually going to hold the iron in place with some pressure behind it. I'm actually pushing down a little bit there for a couple seconds in each area until I feel that it's well adhered. After it has cooled, you're going to take the cloth off, and you can touch it to see if it's cool, obviously. Then you're going to carefully and slowly pull back the carrier sheet. If anything is left on the carrier sheet, all you would do is simply place it right back down and hit it with an iron for a little while longer. So I'm just going to carefully peel this away. Ooh, it looks so good. And if you want, you can hit it with an iron again just to make sure that everything is well adhered. But once you're happy with it, all that's left to do is pick it up, put it on, or if you're going to give it as a gift, wrap it up. It's super cute, and this is an ultra complicated lace design that you made all by yourself with your ScanNCut. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips, tricks, and tutorials, be sure to visit my blog at balderdesigns.typepad.com, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and of course, don't forget about the ScanNCut website at ScanNCut.com.